Hello and very warm welcome to our discussion entitled The Psychological and Academic Consequences of Chronic Stress Amongst University Students. I am MAISARAH binti Fazil and I am honored to be your moderator for today's session. As a fellow university student, I understand the pressure that comes with juggling multiple responsibilities such as academic workload, social expectation, family commitments, and also the constant need to meet high standards. Over time, all of this can build up and lead to what we call chronic stress as a persistent form of stress that doesn't go away easily, and it left unaddressed can have also serious consequences on both mental health and academic performance. Unlike short bursts of stress, chronic stress quietly affects our emotional well-being, cognitive abilities, motivation, and also our physical health. And the reality is, many students may not even recognize that they are experiencing until it starts interfering with their daily functioning. That's why today's discussion it is so important that we are going to explore how chronic stress impacts students in two critical ways. First, it psychologically effects on emotional and mental health. Second, the academic and physical consequences students experiencing when stress becomes overwhelming. Joining me today two insightful panelists, each of whom will focus on one of these aspects. So, before we begin our conversation, I'd like to give them the opportunity to briefly introduce themselves. Panelist 1, could you kindly start by introducing yourself?
Okay. Hi, hello. My name is Fatima KHAIRUNNISA binti Nasir. It is a privilege to serve as panelist one for today's forum. The main topic I will be discussing is the psychological effects on emotional and mental health, and it focuses specifically on how chronic stress affects students' mental health. Today, I hope my sharing today will provide meaningful insight and spark thoughtful conversation on this pressing issue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Fatima. Now moving on to panelist 2. Can you briefly introducing yourself?
Yes. Hi and hello everyone. My name is IMAN Dania binti Abdul Rizal and my matric number is A214100 and I am the panelist too. So today I will be focusing on how chronic stress negatively can affect academic performance, especially among the students.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. With that, let's move on into our first segment, which will focus on the psychological consequences of chronic stress. Let's start by looking into how chronic stress affects our psychological well being. It's well documented that long term stress can lead to mental health issues such as depression, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. It can also result in something known as languishing a state where students are not mentally ill but also not mentally well. So, Fatima, based on your understanding and the data shared, how does chronic stress trigger conditions like depression and anxiety in university students?
Okay, thank you for our moderator, Maisara, for the question. Based on what I have learned and the data we review, chronic stress can seriously affect a student's mental health and lead to conditions like depression and anxiety. When students are under constant pressure, whether it is from academic deadlines, family expectation, or their own high standards, the body keeps releasing stress hormones like cortisol. Over time, this long-term stress response affect the brain, especially a part called the hippocampus, which is responsible for regulating emotion and memory. When the hippocampus becomes disrupted, students may find it hard to manage their emotions. They often feel mentally drained, lose focus, and struggle with sleep or motivation. They may also become more irritable or sensitive than usual. If this stress continues without proper support, it can slowly lead to more serious mental health problems like depression and anxiety. And what's more worrying is that many students do not even realize they are going through it until it starts affecting their daily life and performance. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That brings us to a very interesting point languishing. According to the data, 18.1% of students show signs of languishing mental health. Could you please explain more about what languishing means and how it affects student emotional energy and productivity?
Sure. Languishing is a mental health state where students are not mentally ill, but they are also not doing well. Like they feel stuck. It means emotionally drained, unmotivated, and disconnected. According to the study, around 18.1% of students are in this state. It is like you are just going through the motions every day without any real joy or energy. Languishing makes it hard to stay focused or productive. And one major cause is self-inflicted stress. It means when students pressure themselves to be perfect or meet very high expectation. Over time, this pressure silently wears them down, both emotionally and mentally, and it also reduces their ability to perform at their best. Thank you.
That's definitely something many students can relate to. Lastly, I'd like to touch on self perception and also confidence. Stress often leads students to doubt their abilities, fear failure, and even withdraw socially or academically. So, from your perspective, how does chronic stress influence the way students view themselves, and what role does internal pressure play in this?
Thank you. From my perspective, chronic stress really changed how students see themselves. Many begin to doubt their abilities, constantly questioning if they are good enough. They start to fear failure, and some even feel like they do not belong in university, which is a feeling often described as imposter syndrome. One of the biggest reasons behind this is internal pressure. The stress students place on themselves to be perfect or to meet high expectation, whether those expectations come from family, society, or their own goals. This kind of pressure makes them feel like they are never doing enough, even when they are working so hard. As the pressure builds, it slowly erodes their confidence and self-esteem. This can use them to pull away from friendship, study, and things they once enjoyed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fatima, for highlighting those emotional and psychological challenges. Now, let's look at the academic side of things. Chronic stress doesn't just affect our emotion, it also interferes with how we learn, process, and retain information. It impacts motivation, memory, and even physical ability to function in class. So, Dania, let's begin with motivation. How does chronic stress reduce a student's intrinsic motivation to learn or engage with academic work?
Thank you for the question, Mike. By the way, chronic stress can significantly reduce a student's intrinsic motivation to learn or engage with academic work in several key ways. One of the way is by chronic stress can increase anxiety and fear of failure. Stress often can heighten anxiety, which can cause students to doubt their abilities and fear making mistakes. This fear drive mindset to undermine their confidence and enjoyment in the learning process, ultimately reducing their intrinsic motivation to learn or engage with academic work.
Thank you. That lack of motivation can definitely cause students to fall behind. Let's move on to cognitive impairment. When the brain is overwhelmed with stress hormones like cortisol, memory can be disrupted. Can you elaborate on how stress interferes with memory function and why this is such a big issue for a university student?
Yes, of course. When the brain is overwhelmed, our memory can be disrupted, especially in our working memory. This is because chronic stress can reduce the brain's capacity to hold and manipulative information short term, especially essential for tasks like solving problem, understanding lecturer, and completing assignment. Why this matter for university students? Because because it can reduce learning the efficiency. If stress affects how the student learning, they have to study longer and harder which is can increase burnout. In short, stress-induced memory problem don't just affect academic result, but also can undermine motivation and confidence. And that's why managing stress is crucial for maintaining both cognitive function and academic success. That's from me.
That's a serious obstacle during exams and assignment indeed. And let's address the physical impact chronic stress affect sleep, energy, and even the immune system. Could you please explain the common physical health problem caused by chronic stress and how they affect a student learning consistency?
Absolutely can. Chronic stress has a significant physical impact that can directly interfere with students' ability to learn consistently. By chronic stress, it can lead to fatigue and low energy. It happens because the body remains in a constant state of alertness and draining energy reserve over time. And the impact on learning is the student will feel physically and mentally exhausted and will reducing motivation and ability to stay engaged in academic tasks. So in conclusion, chronic stress affects students not just mentally but physically. Without addressing these physical impacts, learning become inconsistent and increasing by difficult to sustain over time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dania, for sharing such important points. So, from today's discussion, it is clear that chronic stress is a silent but powerful force that can severely impact both our mental health and also our academic success. We hope that by having open discussion like this, we can raise awareness, reduce stigma, and also encourage more students to seek help when needed. Before we end, I would like to invite both panelists to share one piece of advice they would give to any student that currently struggling with stress. Maybe, Fatima, can you share your advice?
Okay, my advice is to any students that struggling in silence, please be kind to yourself. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy. It is okay to slow down. It is okay to ask for help. Your mental health matters just as much as your academic success. You are doing your best, and that is more than enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Fatima. And Dania, can you please share your advice?
Yes, to all the students who are struggling with stress, please remember that stress is only temporary and challenges are part of growth. Stay grounded and please take care of your mental health and trust that things will improve by time. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we wrap up our session for today. On behalf of everyone here, thank you so much for listening to our discussion. Remember, your mental health is just important as your grades. Don't be afraid to talk about your stress, ask for support, and take care of your well-being. This has been my Sarah, your moderator for today. Thank you and take care.